Puerto Rico has been fighting for freedom for over 125 years. Here's what the U.S. doesn't want you to know. Puerto Rico was a colony of the Spanish Empire for centuries, but in 1898, a little over a week after Puerto Rico began operating a new but semi-independent government, the United States invaded the island as part of the Spanish-American War, taking control since we saw it as strategically valuable for military purposes and for expanding our imperial influence in Latin America. We then set up a military government, half of which was made up of Americans, so U.S. businesses could be prioritized over the public good, and after seizing thousands of acres from small native farmers, the military built several installations which were used for decades of naval exercises, leading to environmental contamination and significantly higher cancer rates for those living nearby. Eventually, a civilian government was established, all of which was appointed by the U.S. president. In 1917, Puerto Ricans were granted U.S. citizenship with no voting rights, but they were eligible to be drafted to serve in World War I. In 1937, an unarmed protest against U.S. rule resulted in the killing of 19 Puerto Ricans at the hands of their police force, which we controlled. In 1950, when nationalists revolting against what they viewed as a new colonial constitution, we deployed 4,000 troops, 10 fighter planes, and several 500-pound bombs, destroying neighborhoods, killing and wounding dozens, as well as imprisoning and torturing anyone supporting the revolt. Launched in the 1940s, Operation Bootstrap was to transition Puerto Rico from an agrarian to a manufacturing society, and while per capita income increased quite a bit, they still had to depend economically on the U.S. This plan also included tax exemptions for U.S. businesses, which siphoned revenue from money that was meant for schools and hospitals. The new economy also couldn't support as many workers as the previous one, leading to increased unemployment, but the unemployed were encouraged to move to the U.S., and 500,000 Puerto Ricans went to live in several U.S. cities. Since focus shifted away from agriculture, the island, which was once producing 65% of its own food, imports over 85% to this day. Puerto Rico also is only allowed to have food shipped via U.S. ships, which raises the cost of most products and especially food, and since it's an unincorporated territory, Puerto Rico cannot independently negotiate with other countries. This has led to food security issues, resulting in 40% of the population suffering from hunger or skipping meals. In order to limit the population in Puerto Rico, and while this inhuman practice has since been done away with, forced sterilization programs were implemented on Puerto Rican women of childbearing age, resulting in over one-third of them sterilized by 1969. In the 2000s, the island entered a prolonged recession, and since, as a non-sovereign nation, they could not seek help from the International Monetary Fund or file for bankruptcy, we implemented the Promesa Law, establishing a 7-member board appointed by the president to oversee debt restructuring and fiscal planning with no input from Puerto Ricans on their own economic direction. Since Puerto Rico is highly susceptible to natural disasters, and since the U.S. government's response has been slow and inadequate, there have been prolonged humanitarian crises. And as recently as 2017, after Hurricane Maria, which claimed over 4,000 lives, the U.S. military took over a week to arrive, and the U.S. has Comfort over a month to dock. The U.S. government has encouraged high net worth individuals to move to Puerto Rico in order to exploit tax incentives, leading to foreign investors buying up land for luxury developments, pricing out locals in many areas. And as poverty increases while property values rise, many Puerto Ricans face obstacles to affordable housing. To this day, Puerto Rico is what you may call a rebranded form of neo-colonialism. And while the people can move freely to the U.S., residents of the island who may not be able to afford to move cannot vote in federal elections, nor do they have any representation in Congress.